What is going on, college football fans? Chris Kennedy here, and tonight I'm going to talk the 2021 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. A lot of question marks in South Bend right now, and Brian Kelly has his work cut out for him this year, I believe. We're going to talk about players leaving, players coming in, some of the incoming recruits. I'm going to take a look at their schedule, and then I'm going to give you my prediction on how things will play out for the Irish next season. But before we do that, go ahead, please like and subscribe to my channel. Look, I love talking college football. I'm an Alabama fan, but I like looking at all these teams, trying to give a very fair, unbiased, and logical perspective on how I think their seasons will play out. It's fun to do. I'm probably going to be wrong, and let's just see how it plays out. So we'll get right into it. Notre Dame, on the offensive side of the ball, there's no doubt about it. There are a lot of holes to fill, and look no further, in my personal opinion, than the offensive line. The group was absolutely phenomenal last year. Joe Moore Award finalist group, but this year you lose 4 or 5 guys. Eckenberg, Banks, Kramer, and Hainsey are all going pro. The only guy that you're returning is Jarrett Patterson or he's returning from injury. He broke his foot last year, but he will be back on the group. And then you've got guys that the questions remain, will they be able to come in and fill some of those roles? A 5-star guy like Blake Fisher, number 1 guy in the state as far as Indiana goes. You also recruited Rocco Spindler, Joe Alt, Caleb Johnson. Those guys and how they fit into the offensive line, that remains to be seen. But, I mean, losing 4 or 5, that's tough to come back from. You lose Tommy Trimble, who was a great blocking tight end, big loss, but you do return Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer is a freshman, 42 catches, 450 yards. Notre Dame just continues to churn out great tight ends. I mean, it's really kind of unbelievable, and Brian Kelly has always done a good job of utilizing his tight ends. You also recruited a kid who I'm really interested to see how it plays out. Now, not necessarily the most highly talked about guy, but when I saw his numbers, I asked myself, is this a misprint? Mitchell Evans, 6'7", 240 pounds. Could you imagine if you can get him going and he fits in nicely to this offense on one side of the ball, and then you're using Michael Mayer on the other? That would be a linebacker's nightmare. So we will see how it plays out, but watch out for Mitchell Evans. Now, your strength, no doubt about it, I think, is your running backs. Kyron Williams is returning over 1,100 yards, 14 touchdowns, also had over 300 yards receiving. You also get Chris Tyree, Sibo Flemster. Both those guys combined for over 800 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns themselves. So you got a good running back group there. But I do think that offensive line had a lot to do with it. Now, as far as receivers go, wide receiver Ben Skoranek is gone. Javon McKinley, he was your leader, 42 catches, 717 yards, 3 touchdowns. So there are some pieces that you've got to find good replacements for. And I think of a guy like Jordan Johnson. Jordan Johnson, a 5-star recruit in that 2020 class. Didn't play last year because he was having problems adapting to the college lifestyle. But if he can get things going, watch out for him. He might have a great year. You also bring in a kid in this year's class, Deion Colsey, Jaden Thomas, Lorenzo Styles. So no doubt about it, there's talent there. We just got to see how it plays out. Then last but not least, Ian Book. Ian Book, a great quarterback. I was a big Ian Book fan. Looked like a quarterback you plucked out of the 1970s and dropped in today's age in football. Just a tough, gritty kid. Maybe not the most talented, but a mobile guy. Had 485 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns. Threw for over 2,800 yards, 15 touchdowns through the air. Didn't turn the ball over a lot, but played with his heart. He was definitely the leader of that offensive team, and finding somebody that's going to be able to come in and fill that role will be a challenge. Now, you do get Jack Cohn from the transfer portal, transferring from Wisconsin. He's probably the leading candidate and the guy that people expect to win the job. But don't forget about Drew Pine, Brendan Clark. Played a little bit last year, didn't throw the ball too much. And you recruited a kid like Tyler Buckner. I think Tyler Buckner could be the future of Notre Dame football. But we have no clue how that quarterback competition will play out. But like I said, if I had to make a bet, I'd probably say Jack Cohn is the guy. Now, switching over to the defensive side of the ball, just as many holes to fill. Starting with your defensive ends, you lose Dalen Hayes, added Akimbo Ogundeji. Those guys were a big presence on the end. 9.5 sacks between them. Just a force. And, Notre Dame defensively, they have been good for a long time. So you got to ask yourself, is a guy like Isaiah Foskey, who had 4.5 sacks last year, is he going to be the next guy to step up? Justin Ademilola, he had a lot of playing time last year. Not the biggest numbers, but experience is there. Maybe somebody like Myron Tagovailoa Amosa, he's another guy that might be able to fill in. So we will see what Marcus Freeman can do with that defensive front. Linebackers, you do get Drew White. You do get, Shane Simon is back. Bo Bauer is back. But you lose Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the Butkus Award-winning linebacker, recognized as the best linebacker in the country last year. That's a tough position to fill because that is the quarterback position of that defense. So is Drew White going to be able to fill in? Are one of these other guys going to step up? We will see. You lose Nick McLeod, your cornerback, Sean Crawford, your safety. Both those guys combined for 2 picks, had 13 pass deflections, a couple of sacks. So big contributors on the defense as well. But you get Clarence Lewis back, and it's going to be tough. I'll be honest with you. I think it would be hard to expect next year in Marcus Freeman's first year, when you're trying to transition everybody and get everybody used to playing your style of football with a new group of guys. It would be hard to expect them to be a top 25 defense next year. Could be wrong. That's just my early sneaky suspicion. Now we're going to take a look at the schedule. Now, they don't have elite competition. You're not playing a team like Clemson. You're not playing a team like Georgia. But you've got great teams on this schedule and some tough games. And they're going to get tested a lot during the season. You start out on the road at Florida State. Now, I know Florida State was 3-6 last year, but I think Mike Norvell is going to have a sneaky season this year. I expect Florida State to be bowl eligible. And it's going to be interesting how things go week 1 when Notre Dame is trying to fit and find the way they want to play football against a team like Florida State on the road. Don't be surprised if this game is a lot closer than most people think. You're at Toledo after that. They haven't had a losing season since 2009. Then you get Purdue. I don't know what Purdue is going to be. After that, Wisconsin. And this is the first time you guys have played Wisconsin since 1964. That is gotta change. This is going to be a great game at Soldier Field. And wouldn't it be interesting if Jack Cohn is Notre Dame's quarterback going to play Wisconsin? Should be a very fun game. Then you get the G5 Power Cincinnati after that. Another tough game. You're at Virginia Tech. Then you get a bye. You play the Trojans the week after on October 23rd. Then you get North Carolina. Everybody is really expecting North Carolina to make some noise this year. You get Navy. You're at Virginia after that. Then you get Georgia Tech. And then you get Stanford. So overall, looking at it, like I said, this is a tough schedule. You guys are tested every single week almost. And it's going to be a really challenging year for Notre Dame. And Brian Kelly, he's going to earn his paycheck this year. Now, just looking at this and considering who Notre Dame is losing on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, me personally, I think 9-3, 10-2 is a realistic record. I hope I'm wrong. I know a lot of people will disagree with that, but there are just so many holes to fill. And you guys have the talent, but rarely can you change this many people out and have the same type of success, especially making runs at the college football playoff. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think Notre Dame will be right back in the thick of it? Do you think Notre Dame will struggle this year? Who do you think is going to have a breakout season this year for Notre Dame. I appreciate you guys listening to this video. I'll be back again here soon with another one, and you guys take care.